questions which I think I also put to all the policymakers I go to, is that it's not that the first time that government is, going for manufacturing incentives. I mean, we've seen this play in pockets multiple times in the past. But unless we have a path, for example, today, PLI is an incentive scheme with 5 to 6% incentive to bridge the cost of doing business in India, in a sense that it's essentially to bridge the inefficiency that the system imposes on businesses so that they become competitive. Unless we bridge this 5 to 6% gap over the next 5 years, which is also the targeted period for this incentive, do you think we will be able to cross the hump after 5 years? That's question number one. And I ask this because of two reasons. One is several of these businesses that are coming into India and creating jobs, the Foxcons of the world, these are assembly units where the units can just move overnight to other destinations, and those are becoming the key job creators. That's number one. Second thing is my conversations with a whole bunch of specialty chemical and chemical outsourcing companies which have presence in India as well as in other markets say that there is this strong China plus one push that is acting as a tailwind, and all companies are today willing to pay a 5-10%, 5 to 7, 8, 10% more for Indian manufacturing, for outsourcing from India, but with an understanding that the companies will be able to bridge that gap in 2-3 years, because beyond that, economics will have to take precedence. So, Vikas, do you today have the conviction and confidence that we will be able to overcome these humps?
Yeah, I think very good question, Mahalakshmi. I think this is a question we get asked all the time, because given whatever has happened, there's a lot of skepticism around this. And so this is a very common question, what's different this time? And I will say there are 4 things which are kind of very different this time. Number one, I think government is making a really all-out concentrated effort in terms of making sure this happens, because government is acutely aware that our vulnerability on China is very, very high. And we know what kind of situation they are. They don't need to have a conflict on the border. They can switch off supply of your APIs and your entire healthcare system can come down, right? So, I mean, a lot of vulnerabilities are there. So government is very smartly, PLI is only one of the most popularized talk, but I will give you one nuance that PLI everybody knows. But one thing which I think is not talked about and maybe cannot be talked about is non-tariff barriers. Government is smartly adding non-tariff barriers, whereby, which can't be, which gives protection to the domestic industry. Like recently, you must have heard that toy import from China came down by 60%. Government made only one simple change, that all toy companies have to have BIS mark, and whom to give BIS mark, what pace to give it is completely on their hand, but that way only one single stop. So Indian, government has never used non-tariff barriers historically. First time, I mean, China has 4,000 non-tariff barriers, Japan has 2,000, India has 400. So now we are using first time, and these are the kind of measures which government is taking. So, and I can go on the subject. Also, government is very, very committed to make sure that the local industry thrives, gets opportunity, and protects them from unfair competition which is coming from China. So that's the one part, and that allows Indian ecosystem to get built. And I'm sure over a period of time, as economics of scale build, Indians are no less than anybody in any terms to compete on merits. And I think that is very, very clear. So next 4 or 5 years, we need support, and that government is providing. Number two, I think there's again a very big change happening is in terms of our cost competitiveness has automatically improved. China's minimum wages are about $800. India is about still 200. So China has anyway left that journey for long. They need to prime the economy through consumption, and hence that cost competitiveness has even in India's favor is building. Our power cost is cheaper than China's power cost today. Our logistics cost is inefficient, but that is being addressed. So I feel that naturally India is being cost competitiveness on many sectors. Of course, some sectors we don't have ecosystem to cater to the demand, which India is building, which government is building through various support systems. Once that gets built, I don't think India is going to be less competitive unless on any count. And number three, China plus one, which is a demand pull, right? So today, I don't think any company can say that I'm importing 100% or I'll continue to import, even if it is cheapest from China. And that ship has again sailed. I think every company is looking to outsource, diversify their supply chain, and which is, I think, in works and happening. So in my opinion, that's a 10-year trend, not even a 2-year trend. So right now, even if we get, I mean, we don't have ecosystem to cater to that entire thing. So short-term transitionally, it might look impossible, but I think in 10 years, you will see this number being a very, very big, serious number for India. And lastly, I think great part about India is that we have our own big domestic demand. So if any MNC wants to set up in India, any plant, they can set up for both export and domestic global scale capacity. So like Apple has set up, Samsung has set up second largest plant. So because, our own demand and export capability, global scale capacities can be set up, and that is attracting many, many MNCs here. So I think combination of these 3, 4 factors, I think this time around, it's very, very different. Partly it is policy supportive, but partly it's also demand driven. And when both factors are at work, it is very highly unlikely that this will be at risk. Anything is possible in future. Nobody has seen future, but I think this is a very, very credible move which is there. And I think if I take 8, 10 years, I think we'll be looking at a very, very different complexion. And I'll only touch upon one small point which you mentioned, which is a very critical point, that you said that what these are assembling here and it can be shifted. It is not the same case. Think about it. When Maruti came to India, it was importing 99% of the parts from Japan. And over next 10 years, all components started getting built, ecosystem got built, and they made 99% parts here. And that entire auto component system which we built in India is actually the of Maruti and Honda at that point in time. They initially were assembling, but then as ecosystem got built, today our capability, competency in auto components is, I think, world known. We can compete with the best in the world. So today, when they are coming as assembly, don't undermine saying that these are only assembly. In fullness of time, we will see ecosystem getting built for the components. Indian entrepreneurs will come, businesses will come, attend to, and this will create a huge, large scale employment and opportunity for businesses in general.